Well, good evening and welcome back to another episode of Cozy Old School RuneScape Lore. I'm your host, Driftray, and tonight I'm thinking of doing something a little different. I'm going to take a break from exploring god lore, probably, and I've been inspired by these chunk-based old school RuneScape accounts where they'll be like chunk locked. Because you can separate the whole map of Gielinor into these chunks. I can't remember how many tiles wide they are, but it's like a set number of tiles wide and tall, and they're all squares. And Iron People accounts will lock themselves to one chunk and not let themselves move into another chunk until they do all the tasks available in that chunk. And there's this tool called Chunk Picker V2 that gives you an online map and all the tools for keeping track of that stuff. Now, I don't want to be chunk locked, but I do want to have it randomly pick us a starting chunk and then go from there. See if we can discover all the lore there is to find in that one chunk, and then maybe roll another one, see where it takes us after that if we have time. And if not, maybe we'll just see what lore we can find there. Maybe if it's not enough to fill the time, maybe we can use other places that are mentioned in the lore to choose our own chunk to explore next. So I got Chunk Picker pulled up here. I set it to do a random start, and I think it's going to roll us two options that we can pick from. So I'm going to click. Okay, it wants me to pick chunk rules, but I don't really care about that. I'm just going to say basic rules, original rule set, yes. Okay, so we will do a random start, and I think it's about to pull up okay, it says roll on your next chunk. I'm seeing all these chunks swirl by. Trollweiss Mountain. Right up at the top where you start the snow sledding part. So I'm going to say take me there, and let's see, what are the accessible areas it says we have. Backlog. Maybe there's okay, so there's really no tasks you could even do here. If you started out chunk locked here, you would roll another chunk right away because there's not much to do. But let's go up there. Let's see if there's anyone we can talk to. And there's also a dungeon that leads right up there. That's how we're going to get there. And the dungeon, I think, is mostly in another chunk, but we will see within our chunk what we can see up there. And then maybe we'll get some ideas for where to go next. Okay, I'm going to say pick chunk. There we go. Oh, and it's going to roll us another option here. Oh, it rolled out of... Okay, so it just rolled two chunks nearby. So if we want to explore nearby, we can maybe get into one of those two chunks. But okay, let's go up onto Trollweiss and see what we can find up there. I definitely need my waxed sled so that we can start to sled if we decide to exit the chunk to the south. And I'm going to look for my sled in my inventory. And I think I'm good to teleport up there. So I'm just going to take the Troll Mountain teleport. And then I need to run north. How do I get down? I have to run a little bit south first to climb down these rocks. And up north we go into this pass to an area that you access in the Desert Treasure 1 quest. Alright. I'm running north, and then when I get to this snowy area, I'm going to have to stop, or I'm going to have to get into the dungeon as soon as possible, because this snow can reduce your stats if you stay out in it for like any amount of time. So I'm already in the snowy area, I'm ducking into the dungeon. It's going to take us up to Trollweiss. So here we go. Oh, I need to be protecting from melee. Alright, I enter this crevice at the northwest of the dungeon, and we are in the top of Trollweiss. Okay, now that we're up here... Oh, I see an uncut sapphire on the ground. I wonder if that spawns in, or if that's something someone left behind. If we examine it, it says, this would be worth more cut, and it's in my inventory now. Oh, there's an NPC here named Brambickle. I don't think I've ever talked to them before. Alright, Brambickle. I say, you're a long way from home. What are you doing here? Brambickle says, I'm on an expedition to try and extend the bounds of gnome knowledge. King Narnode has sent out a number of gnome explorers to map the furthest reaches of Gielinor. Seems like a hard job. Oh no, I enjoy it. I've always had itchy feet ever since I was a little gnome. Still, you seem to have drawn the short straw here. There's nothing but snow. Oh, I like it. Very peaceful. Avoiding those trolls can be tricky, though. Tell me about it. Okay, so I guess that's that. That's that whole conversation. There are trees here with snow covered them, covered with snow, and if I examine them, it says it's thick with snow. There's other trees, too, that I can't examine. There are mountain goats here, and when I examine them, it says this beast doesn't need climbing boots. Now I'm getting attacked by an ice wolf, level 96, and when I examine it, it says not man's best friend. Okay, I'm going to enter this cave that I saw on the chunk picker before we came in here. Where does it go? Oh, it goes into a different dungeon. There's armored zombies down here. I must have come in here for a quest or something. I can't even see on the world map where this is. This is interesting. There's a stone tablet to the north. If I examine the armored zombie, it says this is a rotten one. And if I examine the other one, it says it hasn't quite got round to dying. There are crates here that I can't search. And if I run into a side room, oh, I am gonna die. I need to protect from melee for sure. Alright, so we'll be limited by how much prayer we have. Alright, well there was nothing in that room to the side, but now I can run to the north, and I can pick up this stone tablet. And there's also a granite tablet. Okay, and then up ahead there's a slate tablet. There's a bed here. If I examine it, it says a very old and dirty bed. And somehow I'm still taking damage, so I'm going to get out of here, go to the GE, and we can look at these tablets while I recover. And we can get back up there by teleporting and running back. Okay, so I'm going to read the stone tablet. It says, it is imperative I get as close to the ritual stone as I can. For too long the same few have hoarded the power while the rest of us have looked on from the outskirts. If only I could get close, maybe I'd become a force to be reckoned with in the next battle. Okay, now the granite tablet. I have a cunning plan. I intend to dig some tunnels that will eventually lead directly under the stone, ensuring that this time I will be as close as possible. I have found the ideal site to start my work, an isolated mountainside reachable only via tunnel. No one will disturb me here. And the slate tablet. I am making progress with the tunnels, although I hadn't appreciated what hard work it would be. As I'm going to be down here a little while, I've created some living quarters of sorts. I only wish I had some of that papyrus they've invented. Chiseling is so laborious. Okay, so that is all the tablets we have found there so far. Now, I definitely need to heal up. I'm gonna take out 10 lobsters, eat those. It's taking me a while to heal up. Okay, so now my health is full. I'm gonna take out like 15 lobsters and why not all my prayer potions, just 4 of them. I'm gonna go to my house to restore my prayer, and then let's go back up there and see what else we can find. Alrighty, I'm gonna teleport back to Trollheim, climbing down the rocks. Running to climb down some more rocks. Alright, oops, I'm running the wrong way. Running back up the mountain path that leads to the snowy area where we just were. And, I guess if I go too far I'd be leaving the chunk, but that's okay. I'm going to say that I unlocked the chunk just to the side, because we entered that cave, and I think that's a good next one to go for. Okay, I'm in the snowy area now, and I'm going to enter that cave again, where I was getting hit by trolls, and my Protect from Melee is on this time, so I'm not going to take damage right away. Okay. And running to the northwest again. I don't see anything here I can look at, but if I examine the ice troll, it says, "Brr, he must be cold." This looks like that's what it says for all these trolls. Okay. They're level like 124. Alright, and now we're back up here. There's another uncut sapphire, so that definitely was just an item spawn. And, oh yeah, we're probably going to get attacked by wolves, so flick my prayer back on, and go back into the dungeon where we just were. See if we can get to the other side of it. Okay, so I'm running back to the north, back where the stone, granite, and slate tablets were, but there was a path to the south from here that I could go on, so I'm going to I'm going to run down into there and see what's here. Oh, there's a shale tablet. Okay, so we'll find some more lore there. Okay, so this is definitely a place I came in a previous quest. I had to mine out all these, all these rocks. It took so long. It was like kind of like a puzzle to figure out the right order to mine the rocks in. And so I'm back here now, where I was before. Okay, but if we come to the far eastern side of the cave, then there are some bookshelves in like a side room that we can search. You search the bookcase and find some interesting looking notes. Alright. And nothing worth reading in the other bookshelf. And this bookcase, nothing worth reading. Okay, now I'm getting attacked by a zombie again. Oh, and there's one more bookcase. Nothing worth reading. Okay, so we got some interesting notes. There's a table, I can examine it. It says, "A table is lurking here." There's like books and things on the table, but I can't do anything with them. So I climbed up these stairs from that dungeon, and now I'm not getting attacked, so we can just chill here. I'm going to eat a lobster, drink a dose of prayer potion, and, okay, let's look at the next tablet that we got. It's the shale tablet. I've wasted time digging tunnels the wrong way multiple times, and I now seem to have hit some sort of brick structure. My guess is a cellar belonging to one of the others. Maybe if I break into it, I can get my bearings. It will be dangerous, though. I don't want to be detected. Alright, and when I read these notes I got, it's called Mahjarrat notes, A to J. Yeah, there's a bunch of notes here. I wonder if I go back down and search that same one again where I got these notes, if I can find more notes. Okay, so these are Zamorigal's notes, part 1. Notes on my fellow Mahjarrat. Akthanakos. This is an individual who has not been seen since the God Wars, but his presence is still felt on Gielinor. He's presumably still loyal to Zeros. Akthanakos has re-emerged. Apparently he and Anakra were engaged in a continual struggle for thousands of years. He still lives those outdated Zerosian ideals. I just don't get it. I know Zeros freed us, but he'll never understand the path of chaos. If Akthanakos can be caught, he could be a good choice for a sacrifice soon. Okay. Now, it mentioned Zeros. Zeros is another god, but not one of the kind of big three, but in this group of 6, I guess, main gods that are in the God Wars dungeon and stuff. And this mention of sacrifice was talked about in the While Gothic Sleeps quest, because apparently the way the Mahjarrat have such long lives and they keep themselves going is every once in a while they have a ritual and they sacrifice one of them so that the others can go on. Alright, the next entry is Azanadra. A powerful adversary and Zeros' champion has been contained since the God Wars. We have not dared free him for a ritual yet. We should do so soon while Zamorakian numbers are still high enough to handle him. Reports indicate that Zeros' champion is free. This is bad news. He is a real danger. We should be vigilant. The next ritual could be a real test. Bilrak. I've never heard of this person before. Bilrak is of average power for our kind. He seems willing to go along with what I suggest, so he will be useful for now. The next ritual approaches, and unusually, Bilrak is yet to have appeared. I wonder what he's up to. The next entry is Anakra. Another who has not been seen since the God Wars, but whose presence is still felt. She would seem to be the only surviving female Mahjarrat left on this plane. Well, Anakra has re-emerged at last. She reported to us that she had been in a continual struggle with Akthanakos all this time. I'd hoped her return might have meant an opportunity to sire more of our race, but she spurned my offer. Pah! Haziel, one of the Zamorak-aligned factions, a worthy warrior. Generally, I'd consider Haziel an ally. Haziel seems to be gaining in power. He has gained many followers and much territory. Disaster has struck for Haziel. Saradomin worshipping human filth have conquered his territory and put him into a state of torpor. The question is, will his followers be able to retrieve him before the next ritual? Revive him before the next ritual. Well, his followers may have left things rather last minute, but they've managed it. Haziel is back in play. Jalin, this is the last entry. One of the weakest of our race. He did not even dare attend the last ritual, so he will be even weaker now. I'm ashamed to even call him a Mahjarrat. Okay, I'm going to climb back down the stairs and see if I can find another piece of notes from that bookcase where we got those ones. Nope. Well, where am I going to find the rest? It was only A through J. Where am I going to find K through Z? Or however they're split up. I'm looking around. So, when I come up the stairs, I came back up the stairs and I'm in this, castle, but the door is securely locked. Shoot. I have to look up how to get through this door. How do I even look this up? Trollweiss Mountain. And then Ice Path? No, that's not what I'm looking for. What is this place called? Maybe the map has a name for it? No. I'm looking to see if there is a dungeon mentioned on the wiki page. Troll Country, Sled. Okay, let's look on the wiki and see about notes on Mahjarrat notes. Okay, there is part 2. K through Z is found by searching the bookcases on the eastern wall in the basement of Zamorgal's fort. Oh, no, that's the one we just got. The ladder is found in Zamorgal's base by searching the easternmost table. Okay. There's a trapdoor leading to Zamorgal's base. Oh. It says the storeroom south of the vault entrance. Okay, so Zamorgal has a fort and a base. The place we're at now, this castle, is called the Fort. Okay, so that quest where I came here was the Curse of Araf. That's the quest's name. But it doesn't look like I can actually get into the rest of the fort. The wiki doesn't mention anything like that. Okay, then Zamorgal's base. Well, let's just start following the lower threads. Zamorgal's base, you have to have a grubby key to get in, so I have to go find one. I'm going to drop off the pieces of lore that we've gotten so far already here. And that'll give me a little bit more inventory space. And now I need to make sure I have a grubby key. Grubby key. Aren't those expensive? You need the grubby key to get into the base, huh? Do I have that on my key ring? I'm going to check my key ring and just take a look at it. I have a steel key ring item. Brass key. Shiny key, metal key, wrought iron key, dusty key, battered key, maze key, weapon store key, bone key. Those are all the ones I have in here. Okay, I have, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I don't have yet. I should look at that sometime so I can fill out the rest of my key ring. Alright, let's buy a grubby key. Ugh, it's 40,000 GP. But now we have it. Now we go over to near the sawmill. So I'm going to go to Castle Wars and take the balloon basket over to the sawmill. Running up to it now. And travel to Varrock. Okay, how do I get there from here? I have to just run through the gate, and then there's going to be more armored zombies inside, I believe. Oh, well, I gotta talk to the Quizmaster for this random event. Yes, please, I'm so excited. Alright, if you haven't heard this random event, I'll narrate it. Quizmaster says, "Welcome to the greatest show in Gillinor. Odd one out. Please welcome our newest contestant, Drifteray." There's so much text there, and I couldn't even read it all, but I did the best I could. Okay, you have to pick the odd one out. There's a fish, a spade, and some shears. The fish is the odd one out. Hey, you're good at this. Correct. Okay, next question. There's shears, a spade, and a sword. The sword is the odd one out. Hey, you're good at this. Correct. Next question. Okay, there's a fish, and a sword. The sword is the odd one out. Yes, you're right. Okay, next question. There's a spade, a sword, and an axe. The spade is the odd one out. Congratulations, you're a winner. Choose your prize. Mystery box. Alright, what's in it? Ooh, a diamond. I think, the other option was 1,000 coins, and I think a diamond is worth more than that. Yeah, it's worth 1,644, so pretty good. Better than 1,000 coins. Okay, so now I'm coming up to the trapdoor. I'm climbing down, and I better get ready to protect from melee. Yes. Okay, so we're going to run through the base now. Yeah, they keep doing damage through my prayer. Okay, now I got through a gate, and I'm running up to the next one. There's a bunch of bottles here. If I examine a bottle, it just says an empty bottle. Okay, and then I'm starting to run to the east. Okay, I made it through the next gate. And now there's another gate with a range inside and some boxes that I can't search, but I could cook on the range if I wanted to. Shoot. There's these human detection spells on the floor. I wonder what's going to happen if I mess this up. Oh, fills the air with gas and I collapsed. Now where does it bring me? Back to where I was. How do you get through here? Maybe I just have to run, like, diagonally past them? I don't remember doing this before. Maybe this is where I need to, like, insulated boots? Okay, if I run like that. I can't run diagonally. Nope. Let me try to pass it again. Fill the area with gas. Okay. It does not talk about what's in here. What was it called? Human detection spell? I gotta look that up now to figure out how to get past. I really wanted to read the rest of these notes. Okay, well, I've gotten in there before for the quest, so I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to read the rest of the notes to you. Because I feel like there's a little bit of a dead end. It takes a bunch of prep and items to get past there, so I guess I can just sell my grubby key. Didn't really need that. Or do I already have those notes? Maybe I should check. No. Okay. So, if we had been able to pick them up in there, this is what they would say. I'm reading this off the wiki. Zamorgul's Notes Part 2. Notes of my fellow Mahjarrat. Kharedst. Kharedst is the youngest of our race on Gielinor. He was born towards the end of the God Wars, shortly before the death of his mother, Palkira. Under Haziel's tutelage, he is becoming a force to be reckoned with. This young Mahjarrat is proving adept at manipulating weak-minded humans. As such, he has built up a sizable territory and following. Kharedst, a Mahjarrat of merely average power, generally has kept himself out of trouble by going along with the majority, but with no specific close allies, he could be a danger at some point. Strangely, Kharedst has disappeared. I did not think him so weak that he would be one of the Mahjarrat who chose to miss the last ritual. Maybe I overestimated him. And then this next section is crossed out. Lamastard, a fairly weak Mahjarrat. I don't like him much, though. Like most of us these days, he is at least Samarak aligned. Could be the next one we choose to lose the next fight. Well, he failed to turn up this time. Guess he knew he was in trouble. Well, what do you know? The sniveling weasel tunneled into my basement. He's my prisoner now. It's an easy decision to make him the next sacrifice, and my fellow Mahjarrat seem happy to go along with me on this one. And then it says, Lamastard terminated in Gielinor's 16th ritual. Then is Lucian. Lucian is a powerful mage and my cousin. Interesting, I don't think I knew that Zamorgul and Lucian were cousins. I trust him at least as much as any of the others, which still isn't very much. Lucian seems to have been getting very powerful of late. And then, upon completion of While Gothic Sleeps, which I have completed, apparently this addendum is added. Lucian is now getting exceedingly powerful. Could he really have found the stone? I guess I should try to be nicer to him for a bit. Yes, he did find the Stone of Jas. Alright, the next section is crossed out. Mizark. Mizark aligns with the Zerosians, but they don't seem to consider him much of an ally. Understandable, given that he's rather weak. He seems an easy target for the sacrifice. Mizark terminated in Gilinor's 15th ritual. The next section's crossed out. Ralvash, an individual of average power. He's an ugly fellow. I think his eye sockets are too close together. Ralvash terminated in Gilinor's 17th ritual. Slisky, one of the more powerful of our number. Slisk has particularly strong shape-shifting capabilities and powers over shadows. Lurking in those shadows seems to be his preference, as he only shows his face around the rituals. I would love to catch this guy, but he's a slippery fellow. And then, I haven't done the next quest, so I'm not going to look at the addendum that would be added had I finished that quest. But I could tell you later, when I do the quest, I could tell you what that is. But I don't know, because I'm not reading it. Okay. Wahisaital, a Mahjarrat of average power. He doesn't seem to like me much. Not surprising given that he still seems to hold his Zerosian sympathies. He'd be a good candidate for sacrifice. And then Zamoragal. This is me. I am amazing. Okay, so there are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15, and 3 of them are crossed out because they're dead, so that leaves 12. I'm wondering what happens over time as they sacrifice more and more of their own. Do they run out of life at that point, or is it like the last one standing is just so powerful they can live forever? I wonder. Very interesting. And I wonder how many more there used to be, because it says there's been at least 17 rituals. 16th, 15th, and 17th are rituals where people were sacrificed, and it says terminated. So there's been at least 17 rituals, and there's 12 Mahjarrat left. Okay, very interesting. Alright, well now we need to go back up to Trollweiss Mountain and probably get on the sled, slide down, and see what we can find at the bottom. So let's go back to Trollheim one more time, climb down the rocks. Climb down some more rocks. And run to the north. We're up in the mountain path now. Running northwest. I'm going to eat another lobster to make sure my health points are pretty good. Running back north in the snowy area now. Almost to the cave. Okay, now we're in the cave. My Protect from Melee is on. Running past the ice trolls. This time I want to see what's in the room just to the south of the exit. Kind of like loops down a little bit. Oh, I can even see the basement of the fort that we were in before. Just like in the distance underground. It's funny. It's just like loaded in the background. Okay, now we're up top again. Take off my prayer. Okay, is there anything else to see around here? There's more wolves. There's some big bones on the ground. I can examine them and it says, ew, it's a pile of bones. Okay. Now it's time to hop on our sled. I don't think I can walk here unless I sled. So now I'm going to say slide slope. There's also a chaos rune back there. Oh, okay, good. I didn't actually slide down the slope because it says I need to have a sled equipped, and it wasn't equipped. All right. So I'm going to equip that sled. It says ride sled. The animation looks so funny. You like sit on it and like move it with your legs like out to the side. And it's going to drop us off at, I think, like a little like, I don't know, shrine or something maybe? I'm saying I'm getting the hang of this. That was quite the ride. Okay, so now I am... It's not a shrine, it's just like a circle of flowers. There are some regular bones here. I can pick these rare flowers. You use these in the Troll Romance quest. And I can't get off this platform from that side, so I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to see if I can explore around here on my sled a little bit. Because it's like when you start sledding, it's just like... It just like kind of pops you into an automatic thing. But now... Oh, and you can actually pick up a spare sled here. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll take the sled. And if I examine it, it says... a waxed sled. Okay, there's another chaos rune I can take. If you examine a chaos rune, it says, used for low-level missile spells. Oh, there's another one I can take. Slide on over there. Alright, where else can I slide? I guess we're in... should mark this. We're in the next chunk down on the map. What? The way it's moving me is so goofy. I think I have to get off the sled now. Remove sled. Okay. I can't go any further south? Oh no, it's another slope that I can slide. Okay, so ride sled again, and then slide slope, and then I think it takes us all the way down to the bottom of the mountain. Alright, here we go. We're doing some more sledding. Down the slope. I see the Polar Hunter area in the background. Ooh, we moved into a cinematic. And I just like took a huge jump off this hillside. And now I am at the bottom. Okay, at the bottom I will unequip my sled. And there's a tunnel that we can enter, so let's go in there. I think that unlocked, yes, that just unlocked another chunk on the map. So now I'm gonna... There's a bunch of mountain trolls in this tunnel. I'm gonna run past them. Okay, and then that's the entrance to Keldagrim right there. So that's pretty much that. There actually wasn't that much in the chunk proper that I started on, but there was some nice stuff related to Mahjarrat off to the side. I feel like I would like to try this again sometime, and maybe a different chunk would give us, like, some really cool options if we just, like, explored everything in one square. But we basically did that here. It just didn't have that much in the chunk we started on. Okay, so I think that's probably gonna be it. Why don't we do a little bonus actually first? Let's go back to the Grand Exchange. I was thinking earlier of reading Kharedst memoirs, so let's just include that today. Now it's called the Book of the Dead after I did the Kingdom Divided quest, but let's read it. If we examine it, it says, a book that grants its holder the powers of resurrection. So this book lets you teleport to places around Kharedst. It lets you use resurrection spells on the Arceus spellbook, and you can also read from it. Okay. A gift for Rose. And so then there's these sections in this book. I don't think I've actually ever read it before, so this is new for me, but I'm just seeing, like, the first section. It's the name of one of the teleports. So I think because the, like, initial book, before it transformed into the Book of Dead, was called Kharedst's Memoirs. I think it's like every entry is like one of Kharedst's memoirs. I actually don't even remember who Kharedst is or was, but I imagine for every location you can teleport, there's one memoir named for that. Okay, it starts, a gift for Rose. If it pleases you, my dear child, would you record our future outings? When I'm old and my mind is fading, I'd like to reminisce all the times we've spent together around this fine kingdom of mine. Heed the lessons of our time together and reflect, for someday you will be queen over this great land. The first entry is Lunch by the Lancaliums. Today Father and I had lunch by the river hosts. We sat on our favorite bench and watched as the farmers tended to their curious bolongo fruits. We were joined by a young farmer called Grick. He gave me a basket of strawberries, and they're the best I've ever tasted. I recall he was writing a book, and he and my father discussed the mysteries of aging for quite some time before he took leave and returned to his farm. The Lancaliums we'd planted previously were looking a bit wilted, but Father informed me that Grick would see to them and make sure that they wouldn't die. I asked if Grick could stop anything from dying. Father informed me that in the past a great wizard once beat death, and this eventually led to the residents of Arceus being immortal. But they had to abandon most of what made them human, capital H human, to do so. In the end, is it worth it? Forever is a long time, and the mind is more fragile than you may realize. Next entry is The Fisher's Flute. In purple text, this happened a few weeks back. I finally decided to write it down. Perhaps it'll help. A favorite locale of ours is the Fisher's Market at the crossroads in Piscarilius. The merchants are lovely and the music is always enjoyable. The smell may not be for everyone, but after a while you'll forget about it. Being royalty, it's good practice to dress down and be somewhat anonymous, as Father believes it's a good lesson in understanding the residents, for both the good traits and the bad. Today was a bad day. We were stood on the corner listening to Ray play his golden flute, in purple again. He always plays my requests and gives us fish when we leave. I'll miss his music. And just as he had finished playing in purple Mist on the River Hosts, it happened. It was over quickly. A man stepped from the crowds and attempted to take the golden flute. Father instantly stepped between the two of them when suddenly a woman stepped forward with a knife. Blood was drawn, civilians screamed, and the criminals ran. And the rest of this entry is in purple. Father only sustained minor injury, but the Fisher's Market is closed now, and I believe Ray blames himself for all of it. I'm sure there is a lesson to be learned from all of this, but I'm currently yet to understand it. Okay. The next section is History and Hearsay. We left from the southern gate and traveled down the road which passed by the mess. The usual discord echoed forth, merriment, humor, and the clatter of cutlery. The southern door swung listlessly in the wind, further adding to the cacophony with a piercing creak. We turned off toward the west and headed over the stream, up the hill, and towards the training grounds. Father slowed the oxen to a steady pace as we passed by, but it was barren, bar 3 brutish men, sparring silently in the combat ring. As we entered the graveyard, the wind blustered suddenly, and I had to grip my coat in spite of the bitter conditions. I approached the grave cautiously, unsure of what I was expecting to happen, but whatever it may have been, it didn't. I quickly placed Rose down and shuffled off down the path. Father prefers to speak with her by himself. I approached the old crypt and was surprised to see a strange man perched by the door. Noticing me, he smiled and greeted me, showing me a mouth full of blackened stumps. "Morning, love, what a day, eh?" he remarked. "Foul," I responded quietly. "Pa, you know who's buried here in this here tomb?" he pondered. "I was told it's where we would bury our kings and queens, when there was space anyway." I spoke more to myself than the man, but he responded nonetheless. "Aye. But do you hear of the wizard?" he asked. "What wizard?" I asked, failing to hide my curiosity. "Been dead for a good while, so they say," he smirked. "Well, I've never heard of them," I admitted. "Do they no longer teach you history? A high-born girl like you should be educated," the man said as he wiped the sweat from his brow. His hands were far dirtier than I'd first noticed. "Of course they do. I've even read Remo's Tale of Darkness, the original manuscript," I gloated, regretting instantly as it gave away my position far more than he had already inferred. "So your Highness knows all about the catacombs?" His eyes shone with a strange intensity. "I do, but don't try to scare me with monsters. I know of the powerful magic that keeps them bound below," I snapped. This conversation would likely displease Father if I continued any further. "Below," he laughed. "The entrance may be below the earth, but that realm lies beyond the reach of us mere mortals." "But Luster was just a man, and he entered without issue," I countered. "Other powers are at work, milady, powers far beyond the likes of us." As he spoke, he eyed the crypt suspiciously. It looked as if he were about to say more, when Father suddenly arrived. "What nonsense are you bothering my child with, Digger?" he demanded. The man struggled to his knees, submitting to his king, but his mouth kept that sardonic grin he enjoyed wearing. I beg your pardon, your highness. I was unaware of the girl's stature, he groveled. Regardless, you should mind your tongue. Spreading hearsay is a crime against the crown. Father spoke with authority. One must, if you expect your subjects to listen. Oh, I wouldn't dare stoop so low. It was but a folk tale, your highness, the man explained. Don't you have a job that needs attending? Father questioned. That I do, he responded, while bowing far lower than necessary, and he quickly hobbled away. What have I said about talking to strangers? Do you forget yourself, child? Father scolded. I'm sorry, Father, I wasn't expecting him to be here. I've always enjoyed visiting the old crypt, I explained. Come along now, Rose. Let's head back to the cart before the sun sets. All right, next is the Jewelry of Jubilation. During our monthly trip into the Lovacane districts, we made a peculiar stop at a tinker's market stall. I asked Father what exactly he had purchased multiple times, but he was unwilling to speak on the matter. Upon our return home, Father quickly disappeared to his study and wasn't seen again all day. At this morning's breakfast, he revealed to me what he'd been hiding in the form of a birthday present. It's beautiful. A locket of pale gold shaped like a rose that contains a wonderful painting of Mother opposite a dark purple crystal. The gemstones seemed to lack a reflection altogether, and it lay eerily bathed in shadow, regardless of the light streaming in through the windows. The metalwork showed clear signs of age as well as a recent cleaning. Father says he's uncertain of the precise age of the locket. He assured me it's certainly at least several centuries old, and between quick sips from a peculiar ornate flask with an X imprinted on the side. I suppose he picked that up yesterday from the tinker as well. Much planned for the day, Father? I asked, afraid that he plans to spend yet another day locked away from the world. Well, yes, back to the study, in the middle of a book. Very illuminating, he responded. What's it called? I asked. Oh, it's too old to have one of those, a name, that is. As the original cover is a faded mess. Even the author is a mystery. He trailed off. What's it about? I knew he had no intention of sharing the details, but I'm nosy. You sure have a lot of questions today. It's no story of heroes or lovers' quarrels, so I fear you may find the matter rather dull. That was essentially the end of the conversation, as he refused to share any more about those mysterious books he'd been reading. Father has been acting quite odd lately. I should keep a close eye on him. Secrecy doesn't suit him. The rest of my day was fairly predictable. Friends, in quotes, visited me to shower me in gifts, in which I have very little use for, and then there was a feast in the evening. Father managed to show his face for that, although, as expected, he left early. Alright, the next entry is a dark disposition. The sky was gold and the mist rose in eerie swirls as the wind swept through the empty streets of Arceus. A meeting was all Father had said when he left the table at breakfast. The purple bags under his eyes showed that he hadn't slept in days. Recently he's been acting quite odd, secluded in his study for days on end. Recently? He's always been like this, I suppose. Still, this time seems something seems different. Sneaking out of the castle to follow him was far easier than it should have been. The guards had left their posts, and on the journey I saw not a soul. Crouching down behind some magic trees, I could see Father waiting by a still pool. He had his pipe, and blue smoke made ominous shapes above him in the dim morning light. Suddenly, a hooded figure manifested from the mist, and Father did something I'll never forget. He knelt. You're the priestess? He choked. I am, the hooded figure responded in a whisper. I've done everything you asked. He kept his eyes down as he spoke. I want something else, she said. Yes? Take a drink. You sound thirsty, she smirked. Reluctantly, Father took his flask from his pocket and took a sip from it. Pain cut across his face, and the flask fell from his grip. Perfect. She turned her head and looked directly at me. Light burst from Father's eyes and mouth, and he slumped to the ground silently. The world around me spun, and I awoke screaming in my bed. My locket burned against my chest. Was it a dream, or is my father truly gone? The doors to my bedroom burst open, and my handmaid Alyssa rushed to my side. What is it, child? An intruder? She asked. No, just a dream. Where's Father? It was clear she wasn't expecting me to ask that. Why, he left the castle as soon as he finished his breakfast, she explained. What happened, a nightmare? You could say that. I rushed to my desk and began filling in this entry. I fear everything is about to change. Okay. Very interesting. I've never read that before. A couple things. I think now the father mentioned in this book was the previous king of Kharedst. And in a Kingdom Divided quest, you learn about that, and you learn about like the impacts of that final event we read about. But there's something else here. I think the book mentions someone named Rose. Okay, yeah, here, it's in the beginning. The book is a gift for Rose. Okay, so I think this book was given to that daughter, Rose, by her father, who was the king. And it was like a journal, and so she used it as a journal. But then why is it Kharedst's memoirs? Who's Kharedst? Is that the father? Okay. But anyway, you learn about Rose in the A Kingdom Divided quest. So you learn a lot about the stuff behind this, or like following this. So it's really interesting to like finally read this book. I mean, I could have read it when I first got it, I guess, but I just never thought to. And so it might have been interesting to go that way, to go from having read these entries to then learning more about them in the quest. But in this case, I learned all about these things that happen in the quest, and now I'm like seeing these memories before, like, that explain kind of life and events before these like big changes to Kharedst happened. Well, let's go and store what we found in our tab in the bank. We got some bones, a diamond, some chaos runes, a sapphire. We got an extra sled, and that's pretty much it. But that was kind of cool. It'd be interesting to try this again sometime, see where else we could end up and what else we could explore. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of Cozy Old School RuneScape Lore. I want to thank you so much for tuning in and joining me for this adventure. And I hope you have such a good evening and that you sleep so well. I'm going to say goodbye and good night for now.